The honourable member for Parkdale-High Park.
Mr. Speaker, budgets are all about choices, and with this budget, the Conservatives have chosen winners and losers. Les gagnants de ce gouvernement.
The winners in this government, those who promote Canada as a fossil fuel plant, those who want to protect the Wild West, those who want to increase exports of our tar sands.
The government is willing to leave behind. Well, our environment and those working to protect it are losers in this budget. The Conservatives have tried to dismiss their critics as radicals, but it's their dogged promotion of disastrous environmental policy that is truly outrageous. The Conservatives want to gut Environment Canada and National Resource Canada, along with the environmental assessment process. They want to send hundreds of supertankers through some of the world's most dangerous waters off some of the world's most fragile coastline. The oil sands pipeline is a real threat to our environment, fisheries and First Nations. The risk for supertanker oil spills is enormous. The government must listen to everyone who is affected, not just the oil industry. Environmental assessment processes are not just red tape. They are an essential tool in the protection of our environment and in the promotion of sustainable development practices. This government claims to be focused on economic growth, but they have no plan to take advantage of the enormous economic opportunity of the green economy. Instead, they're shutting down the National Roundtable on the Environment and the Economy. And while they continue to provide generous subsidies to their friends in the oil industry, they have no direct funding to support renewable energy, and they've abandoned the Eco-Energy Home Retrofit program. Central Canada and Ontario are also big losers in this budget, along with any company that relies on manufacturing. At a time when governments in Germany and the US are recognizing the importance of manufacturing, this Conservative government has turned its back on the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing has a powerful spillover effect on the rest of the economy, including in innovation. In other words, outsourcing of our manufacturing jobs leads to the outsourcing of our innovative edge as well.
Canadian artists are also losers in this Conservative budget. This is a particularly important sector in the riding of Parkdale-High Park, which I represent, where many artists have settled. Arts play an important role not only for the vitality of our communities, but also for the economic recovery. The National Council for the Arts is not affected by the cuts. However, I am deeply concerned by the cuts to Telefilm Canada and the National Film Board, as well as other important cuts to CBC. CBC is not just an essential cultural institution for the country, but it shows that this Canadian public broadcaster had economic spin-offs of $3.7 billion for expenditures of $1.7 billion. My constituents are strong supporters of the CBC, and we're not alone. 74% of Canadians want CBC to be further supported. The important cuts said to be made to this budget will have real consequences on the ability of the CBC to develop and maintain its regional programming as well as its cultural programming.
In the budget, Canadian cities like my home, Toronto, have been completely left out of this budget. There's nothing for affordable housing, there's nothing for transit, nothing for immigrant settlement services, no new money for infrastructure. My riding of Parkdale-High Park, a big issue has been the building of the Union Pearson Air Rail Link. People want clean electric trains to be built prior to the opening of the service, not years down the road. Nothing in this budget to support the electrification of this important infrastructure project. In fact, no mention of it at all. Nothing for young people. Not only no new jobs, but the cancellation of the Katimavik project. A young person just contacted me yesterday to say she had been accepted in the project for this summer. In this program, and now it has been cancelled. I think that's outrageous for young people in this country. Canadian retailers will also continue to feel the squeeze from lower prices across the border, forcing them to lower their own prices and decrease their profitability. L'inégalité grandissante.
The growing inequality, this is one of the largest challenges the country faces. And there is currently inequality that exists since 1929. In fact, nothing has been done to resolve the issue.
Worse. It makes the problem worse by forcing our seniors to work 2 years longer to make ends meet. This budget should have been used to strengthen retirement security for Canadians, not to undermine it. Despite what the Conservatives say the OAS is entirely sustainable, a fact confirmed by many pension experts and the PBO. They should try listening to him once in a while. This program keeps tens of thousands of seniors out of poverty, and the changes proposed by Conservatives will hit the most vulnerable seniors the hardest.
This government has worsened the problem by trying to balance the budget on the backs of the provinces. The budget unilaterally amends the calculation formula for health transfers, which will deprive the provinces of $31 billion and will open the door to the creation of a two-tiered system. The Conservatives have made the funding of the provinces less stable while inflicting on them major costs, such as millions of dollars for the prison program by the Conservatives.
Worse, by making deep cuts to the public services Canadians rely on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that cutting 19,000 jobs will have a major impact on services. And the $5.2 billion in cuts in this budget will result in significant job losses in the private sector as well. This budget has 9 times more in cuts than in job creation measures, and no mention of any strategy to deal with the stalled labour market, no strategy to deal with the 1.4 million Canadians out of work, no strategy to deal with the lowest labour force participation in a decade. In fact, this Conservative budget plans for unemployment to rise. Yes, budgets are all about choices, about priorities, and it's clear that the priorities of this government are out of line with the priorities of Canadians. With this budget, we all lose. Of course, it's our job here on this side of the House to also propose solutions.
So, what would a new Democratic government do differently? We would adopt a balanced approach and a long-term vision for the development of the oil and gas sector. Instead of sending more raw crude abroad, we would concentrate on value-added jobs in the processing sector, as well as on alternative energies, clean energies for tomorrow. We would work to strengthen our manufacturing sector, keep quality, support jobs here. We would provide stable investments to our arts communities and support our public broadcaster in the cultural promotion within Canada, as well as linguistic identity and regional diversity here at home and abroad.
Work with our provincial, territorial and municipal partners to strengthen our communities with strategic investments in public transit, in affordable housing and in critical infrastructure. We would renew this country's commitment to family reunification and strengthen immigrant settlement services. We would retain the age of eligibility for OAS at age 65 and strengthen the CPP-QPP to ensure that our seniors' retirement is secure. We would work with the provinces and territories to ensure that families have access to the services they need. Unlike the Conservative government, picking winners and losers, an NDP government would work with Canadians from coast to coast to coast to build a Canada where no one is left behind. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.